Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
What does health look like? Is it the same for everyone? What if your body already knows how to keep itself healthy? Well, that's kind of the topic we're talking about. I introduced it a couple weeks back. Today is part 2. And it's also the follow-on of my book launch we had this morning for Aging Sucks, which is available now at Amazon and will hopefully be available later on this afternoon on my website. But Aging Sucks and the Guesswork, there's hope. Our show today is broadcast on YouTube, on USA Global TV and Radio Network, and the Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck website. I think of that. There we go. So the channels, that's the word I was trying to think of, channels. So please, if you're not a subscriber to the USA Global TV and Radio Network, please do that. And also subscribe to Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I really and truly appreciate that. I'm Retta Laughlin. Try to change things around a little bit just to kind of give people a perspective. Normally I start out with a bunch of slides. I talk about this and this and this. And a couple, 3 weeks ago, I changed over to a little bit different kind of slide profile. And initially I was very happy with it, except I had to, where are they at? Oh, here they are. I had to put these on and go like this to kind of read the screen. And my wife also concurred that sometimes the slides have text that's too small. So, yeah. So at first I said, okay. And then at second I said, yeah, maybe I need to look at that a little bit better. So I printed them out. I ran the slides today, and they are not as bad as the ones I've shown in the past, not as busy. So I think for right now today, I'm going to go ahead with the slide program I have. But before I do that, let me just say real quickly that USA Global TV and Radio Network, Talking Heads, we're seen on YouTube, we're seen on E360 TV, on Amazon Fire, and on several social media sites. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. Aging sucks. Yeah, it does for most people. But there are things we can do about it. It doesn't have to suck. Well, it may suck a little bit. But if I'm looking at the actual what's going on in our body, what is really and truly happening, I have a tug of war between damage that's occurring in every cell, every second of our lives, and our body's ability to repair that damage every second of every day of our life. So I have this constant tug of war. It's a battle going back and forth. And when damage wins, we start to age prematurely. We also start to increase our risk of certain kinds of diseases. However, when our repair capability, our capacity, is such that it can fight off anything at any time, we're generally pretty darn healthy. So that's the premise of Aging Sucks, is the fact that you have repair versus damage. Who's on that teeter-totter that's keeping the other one at bay? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And it's really whether the teeter-totter goes up or down, it's the same cause. It's just what level of attention you're giving to it. So as we're going through this, I'll go into a lot of detail. So let's move right on here. Okay, I got damage, I got repair. So if I'm looking at these things as, say, pressure gauges, I have a certain amount of wear and tear that's accumulating. I have a certain amount of capacity, capability to make the repair. So I look at my metabolism. I am stressed. I'm inflamed. Environmental exposure. Lots of things are going on. But I have to be able to control that. So how do I do that? Well, in most cases, your body has natural capacity to do that. Our immune system, when everything is stabilized, we're in a very stable mode. Our bodies have that ability. So I look at this thing as a word called autophagy. I love to use it. It's a great word. It's a self-cleaning process in the body. So if you activate autophagy by exercise, by diet, by fasting, the body will actually go to every cell and clean out the damage that's accumulated. It's not damage, it's debris, it's trash, it's garbage. Because your cells are constantly in motion, projecting energy and doing, there's a lot of things that happen, a lot of debris that accumulates. There's a lot of things that wear out that need recycling. So your body during autophagy will actually go to every single cell, clean it out, get rid of all the debris, repair the stuff that needs to be repaired, and your cell has a new lease on life. And so that happens when you have fasting for more than about 16, 18 hours, maxes out at about 72 hours. So I do a 72-hour fast every month just to keep my autophagy going. Many times it's 100, 120, 150 hours. But I need a certain amount of damage to occur, and it's very weak damage. I'll talk about that when we're talking about exercise. But it's the part of our body. This is a normal biological program. So I look at these things. Sleep. That's where everything actually gets repaired. But you have to have the quality of sleep that gets you through the non-REM into the REM sleep. That okay, now I'm actually in sleep and everything's happening in my body that has to happen. Exercise, I didn't realize how important exercise was because it activates what we call adaptation. The body is stressed, micro-stressed. The repair mechanisms occur as they always do for any other type of damage that occurs in the body. The recovery process is a little unique because of the exercise part of it. So you have a recovery depending on how much you stress your muscles through exercise. That may take a day, 2 days, 3 days. And then you have what's called an adaptation, which actually makes your body stronger. So you go to the gym, you work out, a month later, oh, I can lift 20 pounds more than I could a month ago. Or you're out running, I can run a minute faster than I did a month ago. So exercise is a controlled physiological stress that actually makes you stronger. Nutrition can feed damage or it can feed repair. If you're feeding the right kinds of minerals, I told this story, I'll tell it real quickly. My wife had breast cancer, and the fix that I put in for her was a thing called the Walls Protocol. It has essentially the end result is your body gets about 31, 32 different nutrients it needs on an everyday basis. For months, she was going through chemo, and so we put her on this this protocol, and all of a sudden she was getting all these nutrients the body needed every single day. Well, the one thing I could not address during her chemo was fatigue. She was taking 2, 3 2-hour naps a day. It didn't matter. Wasn't eating. So we put her on this, boom. 48 hours, she's live wire again. Okay, so she's going to go back up to church to volunteer. We're doing things that she hadn't done for months. We're getting ready to go into radiation therapy. The radiologist said, it'll probably get worse. Her fatigue didn't. We left the last day of radiation. I picked her up at noontime, and we left and went to Jacksonville, Florida, about almost 1,000 miles. I rented a U-Haul, bring back my parents' estate stuff that I wanted. She drove by herself 500 miles each day, 48 hours after her last radiation treatment. Nutrition is super critical, but you got to get the right ones. You can't eat a bunch of garbage all the time and expect to have a very healthy body. Stress can overload you. It can do a lot of different things, but stress is one of those ones we have to manage. And then the environment that we're in. Our environment can turn on or off our genes, and that becomes a major problem if you're trying to maintain some level of health. So if I look at the sleep, I start to go to sleep. My cortisol, my stress hormone, naturally drops. But if you're really having a problem going to sleep and that same thought occurs to you, you had an argument with somebody, you have a deadline coming up. Some kinds of stress are very good. Some kinds of stress aren't so good. So cortisol levels fall down a little bit. we get into that deep non-REM sleep, that's when the repair actually starts to happen. Human growth hormone is released. Our immune system starts to be rebuilt. Any tissues in our bodies that need attention, that deep non-REM sleep is when all of that repair starts to occur. And then I get into REM. This is when the other aspects that need to happen. I have a lot of thoughts in my brain. They get organized and filed properly. I get processed. Lots of things happen. So I get in this stage 1, 2, 3. So I go into deep REM, non-REM, deep REM. And I go back and forth. So those are things that are happening that whether we want them to or not, they're going to happen. So if we can facilitate ourselves getting into a quality sleep, in other words, we transition, we have a good night's sleep, we wake up, we feel refreshed, we go on. And there's a lot of hygiene issues that we could talk about. But for right now, I'll just say we need to really concentrate on that. One of the things that happens in your brain when you go to sleep, we have what they call beta amyloid proteins and tau proteins. These are two, what most people consider to be the two primary causes of Alzheimer's. So I get these sticky accumulations of beta amyloid plaque or these tau proteins. And that's just a normal process of our body being our body. And so at night, I go to sleep and I have a deep REM sleep. All of a sudden now, the brain cells actually kind of expand about 60%. And just like in our body, we have a lymphatic system. You get a bruise and 4, 5, 6 days later, the bruise is gone. What's your lymphatic system taking those dead blood cells away? Well, in our brain, we have a lymphatic system. And so at night when you're asleep, the brain cells kind of separate a little bit, the tissues separate, and the body's natural lymphatic system will actually drain the cellular debris, the beta amyloid plaque, the tau proteins. Those things get drained from the brain. But if you're not getting good deep sleep, now you're not allowing your brain to shrink a little bit, and we end up with a lot of problems. So it's a major issue with regard to I need to sleep for a lot of reasons. Well, the body repairs itself. The brain also cleanses itself during that time. Just like autophagy, it's a kind of like a brain level autophagy. Okay, exercise. I go out and I work out, I lift weights, run, whatever it may happen to be. But I do it 20 minutes. It could be just, let's say, a walk. It doesn't matter. I need some level of exercise. If it's a walk, it's fresh air, it's sunshine, you're outside, it's de-stressing. But if I'm, let's say, a light jog, or I'm lifting just 3-pound weights just to kind of tone things, I end up having micro tears in my muscles. This is what they call an acute stress, acute inflammation. It's very low level, and our bodies interpret it as such. It's not the same stress I'm getting when I'm having an argument with my wife or my boss or a neighbor across this whatever. I'm having internal molecular stress that my body repairs. Because it's microfractures to tissues in my body, I need a recovery period, generally 24, 48, 72 hours. Everything happens. My immunity is built back up. The cells are cleaned out, just like in the brain. The debris is gone. Now my body adapts. And adaptation, when you're talking about biology, is a growth factor. So muscles get bigger. I can go farther running. I'm stronger than I was before I started all of this. So exercise also increases the amount of mitochondria you have in your cell. So let's say a cell has 100 mitochondria. It has a lot more than that. I exercise, a month later, I may have 200 mitochondria. That provides our energy to our body. So the energy that we're putting into exercise is actually doubled up in a sense, because now our bodies are capable of making more energy. And that's pretty important, because that is what every part of your body lives on, is that ability to provide the energy to make things happen, whether you're breathing, your pulse, the digestion, everything that's happening, kidneys working, your pancreas cranking out the things, all that requires energy. And you have a certain level that's required. The minute, the time that your body doesn't supply that, now you're starting into that kind of a downward spiral that can become a problem. So, okay, famous normal Gaussian normal curve. From a quality perspective, you have 1 and 2 standard deviations, all that kind of stuff from a statistical world. But there is a lot of truth to the fact that if I'm living in my normal standard deviation, this they call it here dose of stress. I call it Goldilocks zone, because hormesis is a process by which our body stabilizes. We take these small stresses, accumulate them, fix them, repair, boom, boom, boom. So as I get into this optimal stress area, my mitochondria are functioning well, my immune system's doing well, my body's resilience, its recovery and adaptation is going well. Everything there is working well. Now, what happens when I get in the outside? I'm underusing my muscles. I may end up with atrophy. You see those little things hanging under old people's arms. That's atrophy. The muscles are no longer working the way they used to. You end up with weak bones. You end up with low energy, insulin resistance, possibly diabetes, possibly other things that are happening depending on other lifestyle factors. If I over exercise, I'm in the gym and I'm there 5 hours and I walk home and I'm exhausted. I can barely walk. And I go back again and again and again. I'm not allowing my body enough time to fully recover. The more we work out, the faster we recover. But I end up with persistent soreness, burnout. I can't get my routines down. Chronic inflammation just really increases. And when chronic inflammation increases, it affects other things going on in our body. So I have inflammation, low chronic cellular inflammation by free radical damage. If that's not controlled and maintained, it becomes a little bit more chronic, a little higher level, turn the flame up on the stove. Now I'm starting to see mutation, DNA, other things happening. But that higher level of inflammation causes our mitochondria to be less productive. And so when we start destabilizing our mitochondria where they're not pumping out 100%, that also creates an oxidative stress release within the mitochondria. That oxidative stress, called reactive ROS, reactive oxidative stress, causes our inflammation to increase. So our chronic inflammation increases, mitochondrial damage increases, oxidative. So it becomes a whirling spiral of chaos, cascade. Anyway, it's something that is a major issue that we need to try to address. And the only way you can do that is to stay in that optimal zone. Are you working out? Are you handling your stress? Are you eating right? Getting decent sleep? Are you aware of your environment and what you can do to control it? That's kind of the key words there. Okay. If I look at let's take a look at the nutrition. I talked to you earlier about the Walls protocol. So 31 different nutrients my body needs every single day. Can I get them from pills? Well, maybe not. There's some pills that are pretty good for you. There are some that aren't. Vitamin E is 8 different molecules. Most of the time in a packet, in a bottle, you're going to get one, and it's a synthetic. It's worthless. Vitamin B12 in a bottle, it's called cyanocobalamin. And that one can't survive stomach acid. So it's worthless. It ends up in the toilet. So if you take one, put it under your tongue, and it dissolves into your bloodstream, methylcobalamin, that vitamin B12 is good. And there's other ones there. Calcium, we talk about calcium. Sometimes that calcium is just not an absorbable form of calcium. To get it to your bones, you need magnesium, and most of them are deficient. Most of us are deficient in magnesium. So I get the magnesium, it makes the calcium absorbable. It leaves the stomach through the duodenum. If I have enough vitamin D3, and most of us are deficient, it ends up in the bloodstream. If not, it ends up in the toilet. So now I have my calcium in my bloodstream, but if I don't have enough vitamin K2, it's going to go to my heart valves and arteries as plaque, not to my bones. And the reverse is not the same. The reverse is totally different. So to keep calcium in your bones, it requires a different mechanism entirely. So it's what I'm doing is for awareness and education. So today, We need the right kinds of foods. We need the right timing on our foods. If you're having 6 meals a day, light, small ones, that's not probably the best optimal one. I need my blood sugar stabilized. I don't need to be overdoing my carbohydrates. I need to have the right kind of nutrients going into my gut so that I'm maintaining that barrier. But I'm also allowing my immune system, which is about 60, 70, 80% of my gut, to get the right nutrients it needs to be able to react with. But if I'm not, let's say I'm more sugar, more ultra processed foods, sugar spikes, I end up with now more of a what they call dysbiosis. My gut inside is chaos, and depending on what kinds of molecules are there, your stomach lining is generally very, very microscopic. It just lets individual things through. But when I get into a leaky gut situation, those holes open up, just like our brain. I talked about earlier, the lymphatic. Those holes open up in my gut lining, and now that allows anything that's in my gut to proceed through my immune system, which is going to overtax and go straight into my bloodstream, which is not a good thing. Now I start ending up with low-grade systemic inflammation, which can cause all sorts of problems down the road. Autophagy, we talked about that just a short while ago. If I'm constantly eating, I'll never turn autophagy on. Yeah, I can go out and exercise, and the 30 minutes I'm exercising, I might get it turned on, but as soon as I recover from that exercise, it stops. But fasting allows the body to recover. It allows the body to repair itself. It allows the body to start this autophagy process. And this autophagy is every cell in your body, whether it's your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your muscles. Every cell, because of the normal metabolism of that cell, accumulates debris, accumulates wear and tear damage. Autophagy is your body's internal repair system, internal garbage pickup system. So I go in there, I pick up all the trash in the cell, make it clean again, find out what's working, what's not working, replace those things. Now I have a cell that's pretty darn good about working again. So, and I see it already. I've already passed my commercial break. So I'm going to take a commercial break here in the next moment and get something to drink and clear my throat. So I'll catch you back in just a moment.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Back again, we're finishing up with autophagy and the timing of our nutrition. I didn't think new timing was a really critical item until I started really diving into it. And there are actually things that say, if you're eating, I go to bed at night, I don't eat until probably the earliest 3 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. We in America, Western philosophy says breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Who said that? Some cereal company 100 years ago. We are no longer part of that process where you're up at 4:30 in the morning, you're out working at 5:30, and you're going to be working till noon, and you need as much glycogen in your muscles that you can go out and work and do a heavy workload, come home, eat a big meal, go back out again. We're not living in that environment. We drive to work with low energy requirement. You're in an office, you're low energy requirement. You come home, our energy expectations are not the same as they were way back when. So we don't need that big pile of food first thing in the morning. However, if I pile it on with a snack 3 hours later, and I have a big lunch, I have another snack in the afternoon, I come home and have a big dinner, and I have a snack or dessert before, that's way, way, way too much food, too short a period of time over the day. So the timing is also a super critical issue. There's a term called allostatic load. Simple, plain English, it's wear and tear. So I get wear and tear from just my physical operations moving around, my mental stress, my emotions, the environment I live in. So these things are every day. That's what happens to us. So at some point in time, if I'm not relieving my stress, I'm not recovering from all of that, I'm getting to a point where it's not burnout, but I'm certainly being affected by it. The effects are going to be hormone imbalance. My immune's not going to be working right. And the side effect is I'm going to get premature aging. So I need to have some level of control to maintain a decent level of stress management. And, I said one time a day, I mentioned in another show today, the minute something bothers you, smile. I'm in a grocery store and, somebody in front of me is just really taking too long. Somebody at a traffic light. There are so many times during the day I'll smile because it's not worth picking up the stress and taking it home with me. I just don't need it. So I need some stress to activate, keep going. There's good stress, there's bad stress. So I do need some stress, but I don't need to hang on to stress that I don't need. And that becomes part of the problem. So right along. When my environment, my air, my water, my noise, the light, etc., all of those things have an effect on us. I'm breathing all the time, things says 20,000 times a day. So I'm introducing microscopic things into my lungs. It may support me, it may not support me. It depends on what kind of environment I'm in. If I'm here and I had a really good filter system at work or at home, probably not too bad. If I end up with a lot of noise, back when I was flying, even though I had ear protection, it didn't take but about 30 years after I stopped flying before my ears really started to get the effects of it. So light, something people don't realize. They sit there and they have their cell phone in front of them before they go to bed. That blue light from your cell phone, the blue light from the computer, they all have an effect on your natural rhythms in your body. They suppress certain things. But I think probably the biggest thing that I want to say about the epigenetic part of it, you have genes that turn on and off. Well, epigenetics is the lifestyle choices, your diet, your exercise, your stress, etc. So your genes can be turning on or off because of the environment you're living in and the lifestyle choices you take. So if you're making a choice to do something, extra exercise or whatever, get quality sleep, stress management, those are all epigenetic things. So it'll turn on a gene or turn off a gene, but it won't alter your DNA. Sometimes in our aging, the damage occurs actually damages the DNA and the coding behind that DNA. And if the DNA can repair itself adequately, boom, I'm back to normal. But when we're talking about this kind of turning on and off genes, it's like a light switch. It doesn't alter the DNA, but it's still a factor. You have things going on that shouldn't be going on, or you have things that should be going on that aren't. And so that's a big deal. So the environment, microplastics, something I learned about a while back. I went out and found some research. Okay, I got a couple filters I use at home to filter out microplastics in my water. So everything I use for cooking, for drinking, literally everything that goes on water-wise, I have a filter that filters out microplastics. Is it a big deal? No, jury's still out to some degree, but I think it's going to become a big deal as you start accumulating a decade after decade after decade. Okay, mismatch. We talk about lifespan and our health. If we're maintaining a good level of health over our years, you're going to be that green line at the top of the graph there. So back it says our ancestral biology. We had physical labor we had to do, natural light. a scarcity. Sometimes we ate, sometimes we didn't. Sometimes we had to run faster to get away from whatever was happening. We had a lot of exposure to things that today we take extra time to cleanse our hands with this antiseptic, this and whatever. Today, our routines are not the same as they were 1,000 years ago. More artificial. A lot of things that are really in our modern life are affecting our lifespan. So our chronological age, we look older than we are, and we just can't do things we used to do. So there's a gap that happens, and we start probably seeing, in reality, somewhere around 35, 40, 45, maybe 50, depending on your individual level of fitness. I can't do what I used to do, or I get burned out faster, or I don't have the same energy, brain fog. And so you have this, what we call an adaptation gap between what you really have as your health span versus what you could have if everything was optimized to a degree. And obviously that top line could be anywhere in that area that we're looking at. So I have, I could be 100 years old and be able to function extremely well, or I could be 100 years old and people are pushing me around in a wheelchair, or I never make it to 100 years of age. So there's a lot of things that our modern society gives us what we call a mismatch. It's an environmental disassociation of sorts that, okay, as a kid and with my kids, everybody's outside playing, mud puddles, this, that, and whatever. We got dirty, we did it, but nowadays we don't let kids go out and play. Food has more calories and toxins in it than you know what to do with. Back in the 50s, we didn't have that kind of problem because food wasn't as easily available. You didn't have the superstores we have now. Lots of things have changed, our environment, but our ancestral biology hasn't changed. It's still there. It runs on the same biological programs that were written, when we were, thousands of years ago. So that mismatch is something that can be a problem as you're growing older. And that's just something, again, an awareness issue. Okay, I mentioned earlier about the inflammation and mitochondrial damage and the circle. We have these little circles that happen. Let's just take one here, poor sleep. It could be from almost saying, well, let's say environmental stress. It triggers us. I get a negative feedback loop started. My endocrine system is going to increase my cortisol, increase my insulin resistance. That's going to have an effect on my gut. My gut's going to say, I need comfort food. I have increased, I need something. I'm hungry. And stress does that to us. But it also causes what they call dysbiosis, chaos in our gut. Then our immune system, because our gut is 70-80% of our immune system goes haywire. So I got a chronic system down there that should be operating well, but it's just constantly flooded with inflammation because I got the wrong kind of stuff in my gut, and it's causing a problem. It may be a leaky gut, it may not be, but it's requiring a lot of attention that I don't need to give it that much attention. And as a result, my gut is my second brain fog, anxiety, nervous system issues. That goes back and that triggers my sleep quality. My sleep goes down again. So this thing ends up in a big, big circle. So I end up with brain fog, instability, poor focus. I put on weight. I get fatigue in the afternoon. My cravings just increase tremendously. If I have some kind of wound or whatever, it takes forever. I can't get rid of soreness. I end up with colds more frequently. These are domino effects that happen, a cascading effect due to one system activating another, activating another, activating another. So if I look at what happens if I'm optimized sleep, okay, get my human growth hormone released, my lymphatic drainage happens, my DNA is repaired. However, if not, my brain doesn't get cleared out, brain debris accumulates, cortisol is there. It's just the sleep doesn't do the repair mechanisms that's supposed to do. Exercise, I can get my mitochondrial growth. I add more mitochondria that's there, controls my insulin sensitivity. What happens when I don't exercise? Atrophy, metabolic stagnation, nutrition, blood sugar, motivating my autophagy cycle versus if I'm ignoring it, leaky gut, a lot of systemic inflammation, whole body inflammation. Stress, we talked about that just a very brief minute ago. My adaptation is working. My hormetic resilience, my ability to get stronger is there, as opposed to I just can't do a thing. And the environment, we just got to finish with that on the last slide. So I think I'm getting down to the last slide here. So if I wanted to be able to take control and maximize or optimize my sleep, my exercise, my nutrition, my stress, it's not the exercise that makes you stronger. It's the recovery from that exercise that actually makes you stronger, that adaptation that your body does. So you get stronger, but you need good quality sleep. So the exercise is there, but the sleep needs to activate it. But to activate it properly, I need the right kinds of molecules, the right kinds of food, that nutrition that's in there, so that when the body says, go repair this, I have the right kind of raw materials to go repair that. And that becomes a major, major problem. So I also need to maintain a stress level that's low, because otherwise, as I'm sleeping, stress is going to affect the quality of my sleep. Stress is going to affect my nutrition, because I'm going to be eating happy food rather than the stuff I should be eating. I'm going to say, I don't need to exercise today. I just don't feel like it. So the stress has a finger in a lot of different parts. And the environment may be something you're not even aware of. If microplastics is an issue for you and you don't even know about it yet, well, Google's there. Look and see what could possibly happen. And then stress, water filters, microplastic capability. Because in addition to the microplastics, you probably have 100, 200 different kinds of prescription drugs that are in the public water system that they don't filter out they're microscopic, but they're still there. Are they going to have a problem? Heaven only knows. But there's a lot of things that we do have control over, and that happens to be one of them. What can we do to get better air, better water, better food? Doesn't have a lot of toxins in it, a lot of pesticides, a lot of colorings, etc. So we actually have a lot of control over what we put in our mouth and what we do every single day. Our body, again, as I mentioned very, very early, your body listens to every aspect of your lifestyle. What you eat, your exercise, your stress levels, your sleep, everything is a signal going back and forth. And your body is going to obey that signal, because biologically, that's the way it's programmed to be. And so I'm going to leave you with that, and we will continue again next week. We'll take another part of this or dive down into one of them. Not sure which way we're going to go. But I appreciate your time today. It's been an interesting day, and I really had a lot of fun. Take care, y'all. Bye now.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.